Welcome everyone to today's webinar, Building a Social Community to Spice Up Virtual Events. My name is Harrison Campbell. I work with Zimi. I am the Director of Marketing and Brand. Been with Zimi for a couple of years, but prior to that, I worked in enrollment management admissions for about a decade at several great schools in Indiana. And so what we're wanting to do with this webinar today is talk about how can we kind of spice up and actually make these virtual events exciting and engaging. Because I think what we found up to this point, we've done a lot of webinars. We're on a webinar today, and I can guarantee you after this webinar, none of us are going to walk away from this thinking, oh my gosh, I would just love to do that every day, as many times as I can. That webinar was so exciting. And so we're going to talk about some of the problems here that we face, that we've currently been facing when it comes to these virtual events. The first one, obviously, is the webinar fatigue. We've been talking a lot about this specifically with junior recruitment in mind. We had some conversations with my team this morning, and we're thinking about, oh my goodness, as we start to look at junior recruitment or now rising seniors, are they going to be bombarded with thousands of colleges encouraging them to sign up and attend this webinar? And so like we're already over it. So I can't imagine what these students are going through when they're being invited to one webinar after another. So we know that that was a great short-term solution, but now we've got to think beyond that and what can we do to engage these students. The other issue with so many of those is it's a scheduled time. There are many people that couldn't attend this webinar today because it just didn't meet their timing. And so there's issues with any type of a webinar type of a situation where one, extending an invitation, we're hoping they can attend at that specific time. We're never going to capture the full audience. So that's one of the issues. Megs, you can go on and click that next one. The big thing here is building friendships. So a lot of what we're talking about today involves kind of incoming students, prospective students, but it certainly translates to a lot of audiences. It could be alumni, current students. The thing that we're wanting to focus on here is that the key thing that we're missing with so many of these events that we've been doing is, are we giving the students an opportunity to actually connect with each other and build real, true, meaningful relationships? You know, are the incoming students waking up every morning and telling each other good morning as they're chatting about life and what's going on? Like, that's what we're trying to recreate, that sense of friendship, because that's a strong influencer when it comes to attending your college or university. Generating excitement, already mentioned it. We've got to find ways to make these things fun and exciting. Nobody wants to sit through one webinar, live stream after another when it's not engaging and fun. So we've got to generate excitement. And so that leads us to repurposing content. I know right now, after this webinar, we're going to make this recording available, and I know that not all of you are probably a very small percentage are actually going to go back and rewatch it. So we're trying to find ways of, if we can have a community, if we can build a community and have all of our students in one place, and that content lives and exists, we know they'll come back and they'll keep engaging with that content. So we're going to talk a little bit about a new strategy, a better strategy of engaging through these virtual events. And the next slide. Okay, so I wanted to share, you can kind of see through the background, the blue gradient here. This is a picture of me from a long time ago when I had hair, and this is when I was helping lead new student orientation at Indiana State University. And this picture kind of sums up what we're trying to recreate. You know, with a new student orientation, the logistics, all the things that we need to do to get new students prepared as they start their college experience, it's really important. But the one key element is they build great friendships. They have fun. It's super exciting. They realize, oh my gosh, I do want to go to school with you. You're like my new best friend, so let's do this. So that's what we're trying to do when we think about this new strategy moving forward. And so without trying to give you a huge bait and switch type of deal here, we're going to lay it out on the front. A lot of what our panelists will talk about will be examples from Zimi. And so we don't want to just shock you there. You know, Zimi is the platform right now where all of these things are happening and taking place. And it's just a great platform for that. It's specifically built and designed for those students to connect and engage with each other. And so a lot of the examples are going to show how these fun and exciting, engaging virtual events can happen on Zemi. So again, Zemi is just a community trusted solution, continuous engagement with prospective students. I don't need to read all of that. But yes, we're going to be sharing a little bit about Zemi today. So with that, let's hurry and get me to stop talking so we can actually hear from the people that we want to hear from today, our amazing featured panelists. So I just want to quickly introduce them. We're going to turn it over to them and let them take it. So first, we're going to have Nicole Focareto. She's the Vice President of Enrollment at Washington and Jefferson. We've got Courtney Buckner today, Associate Director of Admissions at Jacksonville. Stephanie Francis, who's an admissions counselor at University of Denver. We've got a power tag team here with Sarah Hanson and Jack Hein. Sarah's actually really awesome because she's transitioned from being more of that full-time student influencer to now actually working for the organization there. And so it's cool. I really encourage you guys to ask Sarah questions. Jack Hein, who I'm always extremely jealous of with that amazing hair, he's also going to be on with Augsburg. And then Liz Paulsen, the Director of Admissions and Communication and Visitor Experience at Alverno College. So with that, I can finally stop talking. Nicole, take it away.
Thanks, Harrison. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Nicole Focareto from W&J. Thanks for taking the time to spend an hour with us today. So I just want to speak briefly about W&J. We're right outside Pittsburgh. We're in Washington, PA, and we're a traditional undergraduate institution, about 1,200 students, so fairly small, and that's how we like it. W&J has had a relationship with Zemi since about late 2018. We needed a way to increase our yield, and Zemi was a great way to do that. But I can tell you that we use Zemi all the way throughout the entire admission funnel. We really focus on yield though, and this is yield season. So that's really what I'm here to talk to you a little bit about, some of the things that we've been doing. These things that I'm about to share with you happened as a result of a whole team working cohesively together. So ultimately my role was simply to mobilize the team to bring these visions into life. And just a disclaimer, I'm not a technology expert or a social media guru, but I do tend to see myself as a relationship builder and a people connector, and Zemi provided a way for our students to connect in a safe and comfortable way. So as you can see here, I'm not going to read all these details on this slide, but part of the reason why I'm one of the panelists is we did have one of the Zemi events that had a lot of activity, and over 2,000 chat messages came in 1 hour during one of our virtual events. So if you can go to the next slide, Megan, this is the virtual event that we had, our speed friending event. So it was a live 1 hour event, and it included a number of our admitted and committed students, along with our key influencers. So all of our admission counselors are key influencers, and then of course our student ambassadors. So we do have professional staff, and then of course our student ambassadors are listed as official in the Zemi platform too. So how this started, we generally have an on-campus event that we couldn't conduct, obviously, because of the COVID-19 conditions. So we needed a way to replicate one of our events, and specifically one of the most popular sessions at one of our events, which is speed friending. It's sort of like speed dating, but the end result is friendship and not love, but the students loved it. And we really wanted to make sure that we could try our best to replicate it in a virtual way. Zemi allowed us to do that. So as you can see here, there's a video of the live feed running. And the initial questions were a little bit basic. As you can see, questions like, what are you planning on studying in or majoring in? What else are you interested in? Things along those lines. But then they got deeper, which allowed the students to really connect on a deeper level. Describe yourself in one word. If you could have dinner with anyone, who would it be? Those types of questions. And we found students were really connecting with one another. And then they were sending sort of brief messages at each other, which allowed them to connect. And it came in really fast. If you can see, it was difficult to keep up. I mean, over 2,000 messages within 1 hour. It was fast. But the nice thing is that these messages stay in the W&J Live channel. So it was really helpful for us because then we could go back and reread through those connections too. So we announced a new question with a fire emoji because as things were coming in pretty quickly, things needed to stand out. And fire definitely stands out, and the students were responsive to that. You can see over on the right side of the slide, there are some other examples of, questions, some pictures. We introduced the event with a video, and it was really important for us to sort of lay down the ground rules, what this event consisted of, what to expect, and how to interact. And that definitely helped. We also put the overall purpose so that it was not only in a video, but also in text. We had a couple polls in there too, and then naturally we had prizes. So students love swag, and we promoted it. So we gave away 5 blankets at the end. But everyone's probably wondering, well, how can you give a prize for making friends? But we just did a random selection, and people knew that by attending that they were going to be entered into a drawing for a W&J blanket, and they loved it. So if you can go to the next slide. We thought because speed friending was so great, we wanted to give trivia a try too. And trivia was equally as fun. Not as many chat messages though, just because of the complex nature of trivia. There were 5 rounds. We started, of course, with school history, then moved on to movies, songs, Pittsburgh area trivia, and then other where in the world type trivia questions for the students. There were great prizes. We promoted it. We gave away AirPods, Amazon gift cards, and other gift cards. And really the whole idea was just to get students to connect and allowing them to make friends. This is the time that they're really eager and wanting to get to know each other and their new college. So one thing that I can tell you with these live events, we tested them. We wanted to make sure that we understood how it was going to flow. We wanted to see how things would work. But overall, it was a pretty seamless execution, and it's really allowed us to see who our key players are and who the leaders are in the class as well. That first speed friending event, we had a little over 140 students or so attend. And we're going to bring in roughly about 330 new students. So we felt like that was a very good percentage of our committed students. And then if you can go to the next slide, we just wanted to show you some other cool ways that we virtually connect. Of course, we're incorporating TikTok in a very relevant way, just seeing what is new and what people are doing. So that video on the right is the Pass Your Pet. And who doesn't love seeing other people's pets? And then of course we did conduct a virtual President's Preview Day. We had to pull it off pretty quickly. So there were a number of individuals across all of campus who created video content for nearly 20 videos in 5 days. And it was a great way to allow students to navigate the culture of the institution in their own way for that preview day. And then of course, we're using a video platform to send out personalized video email messages that are embedded in our emails. And that's been really, really beneficial for us during this time as everyone's, staying at home. And I can tell you that my advice to all of you is to lean on others, really be open to as many ideas of how to connect and how to help students connect with each other and build community at such a pivotal time in their lives. And don't be afraid to take risks. So next is my friend Courtney from Jacksonville University, and she's going to share all the cool things they're doing at Jacksonville. Courtney?
Awesome. Thank you, Nicole. Just a little bit of background about Jacksonville University. We are down in Jacksonville, Florida, also relatively small, about 3,000 undergraduate students and 1,000 graduate students. We primarily use Zeme for our undergraduate community though. You can see kind of our general numbers here. I would say the one thing that we've had the most success with in ZB is just our general engagement. Someone just asked a question in the chat about if ZB helps get students engaged on other platforms, and I think that's absolutely true. So what we've tried to do, I mean, as soon as COVID and all the lockdown started, we realized that the number one thing that students were really missing was that engagement with their peers. So they weren't able to come to open houses, they weren't able to come to orientations, and really what they were looking for was that kind of peer-to-peer connection. And that's exactly what ZME offered. I think we've been working with ZME for a few years, but I didn't get involved until recently, and it was the perfect tool for us during COVID. So if you can actually go to the next slide. So and you can play that video so we don't have to see that screen grab of my face. We did some live info sessions about 2 or 3 days, maybe 5 days most after the lockdown started on our end. And they were really informal, really casual, but essentially we just told students, here's a chat room. We're gonna have a couple of admissions counselors and student ambassadors that'll be there to live answer your questions. We all did a quick video, just like the one that's playing, and students just typed questions in, and it was like rapid fire. It took a minute or two for things to pick up, but it was just question after question coming in from the students, and we all just kind of chose one and we answered. So I might see a question about housing on campus. So I would say @Stephanie and then respond. Sometimes we responded with a video, sometimes we responded with a text. Sometimes 2 people responded to the same question and students got 2 different perspectives, one from an admissions counselor, one from a student. And this was really fun. We've had a couple of these. We did one with alumni. We've done some focused around different things, some that were just general, any questions that you like. And I think the students like this because it's really genuine and really authentic and it's not overproduced. Kind of back to what Harrison was saying in the beginning, I think people are really, as much as we need the Zoom info sessions and all of the kind of produced content, students see through a lot of that. And I think that being genuine and being authentic and letting them know when we don't have an answer, when we're still figuring things out, that's really helped us connect with students on ZME. If you can go to the next slide. So just a couple of things that we've used in conjunction with ZME that I think have really helped us. We offer a $1,000 visit grant typically throughout the year to encourage our students to come visit us on campus. We've extended that to all of our virtual events and our events on ZME. So any student who participates in one of those live info sessions, they know that they're getting a $1,000 scholarship their freshman year. So that's definitely helped drive some engagement for us. We've also used ZME as kind of an undercover tool to understand what students want outside of ZME. So we just sometimes go in there and say, hey, so we want to do a live info session that includes more video or includes some of our professors who, haven't been able to navigate ZME, let's say. And when we ask them, what do you prefer? Do you like Zoom? Do you like Blackboard? Do you like Google Hangouts? And they're pretty honest in there. So it's nice to actually get a temperature read on the students that way. And we hired a lot of our student ambassadors back and over the summer to really do a lot of the heavy lifting in ZME. It's a student community, so we try to stay out of there as much as possible from the admissions counselor and administrative perspective. I think the more that they feel that it's kind of being monitored and watched by admission staff, the less genuine they are and the less willing they are to share and chat and kind of be free in there. So our ambassadors are awesome. They kind of take turns monitoring it each night. If they want to redirect a conversation, they start asking questions about what are you guys having for dinner? What are you watching on Netflix? And we really have told them you don't need to dress up in JU gear every time you post a video. Just be yourself. And I think people have responded really well to that. The plan is that we're going to host some ZME meetups when we get back to campus. So there are a lot of students in there, and we kind of have our ZME regulars that we see part of every event, every info session. So we're going to try something in the fall, and we're actually going to host like a little party, a donut party or something like that, and invite those students who we know have been really engaged on ZME. So hopefully that'll be a lot of fun. And then this slide that you're looking at now, this is something that we put up in all of our virtual info sessions. So whether they're on Zoom, on Blackboard, we always drive our students to ZME, because I think we're seeing right now as we're monitoring yield, the students that are engaged in ZME are yielding at such a higher rate than all of our other students. So the more that we can drive students to the app, the better we feel we'll probably yield those students. So we've had a lot of success both in ZME and then using ZME outside of it. So we're really, really excited to be partnered with these guys. And I think bottom line for us is just be authentic, be genuine, you know, and don't be afraid to try something new, because the worst thing that happens is you have 5 attendees and those 5 attendees had a really good time and you don't do it again. So yeah, that's my advice, and I will pass it over to Stephanie Francis over at DU.
Yeah, thanks, Courtney. Hey, everyone. Like she said, my name's Stephanie Francis. I use she, her pronouns. I'm an admission counselor at the University of Denver, but I also work on our division's communication team. So my primary role there is to oversee all of our social media efforts, which has really taken a big chunk with ZME as well. So you can kind of see, again, I won't read off every single one of these things as well, but we've been really happy with just kind of the level of engagement and the amount of students that we've had who have participated and who are engaging in our ZME community. We partnered with ZME just before January, or right around January of 2019, so a little over a year now. And even before we launched, we just saw kind of an incredible amount of our students on there engaging with one another. One of the biggest things that we've seen is that our students yield at about 3 times the rate in community that they do elsewise. And so I think that was just an important thing, just so you understand kind of how much this is a part of our general communications plan. I know somebody asked in the Q&A a little bit about, you know, how many of our students are actually in ZME and how is it working in that way. But yeah, like you can see there, the majority of our admitted students are in our ZME community, which we find is just really helpful because it's kind of the one space where we can reach as many of our admitted students in one place. And we know that once they're in that community, they'll start building those relationships with one another. So you'll see we do have a lot of different chat channels in our community. Kind of our big overall philosophy, one of the big takeaways with us at DU and ZME is that it's our goal just to kind of make ourselves as available as possible to all of these students, and then to just give them as much content as they possibly need or want. Like Courtney was saying, their approach at JU as well, we're pretty hands-off as staff members in our office. We think kind of, you know, the whole cool factor that ZME has right now is that it's really an app by students for students. It's a place where our current students can connect with prospective students. They don't feel like they're being policed or moderated, or that it's, you know, extremely curated content like most of our other social channels are. And so we really find that it's just a great space for students to feel like they can have those real, authentic, unfiltered conversations with one another. And so with that as well, we've started to make this a university-wide effort. This isn't just an admission-specific thing for us. You'll see we have quite a few officials who are a part of our channel as well. And really that's just because we have a lot of tour guides. We've actually implemented it into their shifts. So ZME shifts are just different things that they can pick up. So we know that there's constantly going to be people on there interacting with our prospective students. We've also gotten residential life involved though. We've gotten our living and learning communities, honors, our leadership programs, all of these different departments on campus that we really trust to represent the university well. We'll do trainings with them. We'll get all of them on board because at the end of the day, like I said, our whole philosophy is just kind of to give students as much as they possibly need right now. So if you don't mind moving to the next slide, I'll kind of show you some of the different things that we've been doing. So as I'm sure all of you can relate, one of the biggest challenges during this whole virtual time is the fact that this is a time when most of us are doing all of our admitted student days, our admitted student programming. Those tend to be really huge parts of our students' experiences and decision process. But unfortunately, that's not really available right now. So our visit team did an absolutely incredible job turning quite a few different separate admitted student days that we would have into a 2-week-long period where we had just every night there was a different webinar that we were offering. And like Harrison was kind of mentioning at the beginning, there's this webinar fatigue. These students are spending all day, every day on Zoom right now. They don't want to just have us sit there and talk at them. Some of them really do need that information. But one of the best ways that we've been incorporating ZME into every single thing that we've been doing. So you'll see with our webinars that we've been having for our admitted student days, simultaneously, we also offer a live Q&A on ZME. So what we'll do is say, for example, the College of Business is doing a webinar presentation where they're explaining to our admitted students about their program and things like that. At the same time, we have business students who are in ZME introducing themselves, saying, hey, there's currently a webinar going on, but if anyone has any questions, this is my background, let me know. And we found that was really successful for two different reasons. Number one, our students who are in the webinar, maybe they're with their parents and they don't want to ask certain questions. They feel a lot more comfortable to ask those in Zini when it's just them interacting with other students. And then we also find, again, for those students who do have that webinar fatigue and they don't even want to sign up for the webinar, this gives them an opportunity to still get the information and ask questions without having to sit through our hour-long Zoom presentation or anything like that. So just giving students options there. Probably the biggest thing that we worked with Zini on, which we were extremely pleased about, that's kind of what this little video over here, the screen grab that they played, is talking about. You'll see we did an online or a Zini virtual activities fair, which we had no idea how it was going to go. We really didn't have much to go off of, but we were extremely impressed and really happy with how it went. So kind of what we did was we had one day where it was from about 6 to 8 p.m. We offered an activities fair on Zini. And so I worked with some of our organizations on campus. We got close to about 50 different student clubs and organizations to send us either promo videos or just like a selfie video of one of their student leaders talking about their organization. I then worked with Vanessa and Adam and Will from Zini. They were all extremely helpful. We sent them all of these videos and they put it in, basically it's like an announcement section in Zini. So it's a chat channel where we can post content, but students don't have the option to engage in. Basically just a chat channel where our students could go in there and just see a bunch of these different videos. As you can see there, it's got all of those on there, like, hey, this is the acapella group, and then a video about the acapella group. While that was going on, we had current students who, again, were in those different chat channels, introducing themselves, saying, hey, there's an activities fair going on. Check out the different clubs and orgs, ask us questions. And we just found it was really successful. It was great because it brought kind of our whole university community together. We had a lot of different departments buying into this, but it was also a great opportunity. I think it gave our students more of a chance to see more clubs and organizations than they would have if they were even on campus. They can go back there, and that channel lives there now for as long as we want it there. So even though that activities fair with the live Q&A simultaneous was offered at that set day and time, our students who are in our community now have the option at any time they want to go back in there and relook at any of those videos of our clubs and orgs if they want to. Another kind of consistent thing that we've been doing with Zini, every Thursday we offer a live Q&A. So it's every Thursday from 3:30 to 4:30 p.m. And it works kind of, we purposely did it that way because our information sessions end at 3. And so it gives our presenter, we have a student panel at the end of our information session, and it gives our panelists and our presenter an opportunity to say, hey, if you want to continue the conversation, hop over to Zini. There will be more students on there answering questions. And again, kind of how Courtney said, it's funny, it's one of my biggest things that I talk about with social in general is one of the best things about this is that there's really no loss if it doesn't work. So again, our job is just to make ourselves as available as possible, give students information. If we only have 2 students who are in there asking questions during one of our Thursday live Q&As, that's 2 students who get their questions answered who wouldn't have before. It doesn't really cost us anything. It doesn't really lose us anything to do that and to make ourselves available to them. And it gives us a really great opportunity to keep our students employed during this time and things like that, if any of you have the availability to do that. But just some other different things that we've been doing. We've got YouTube. We found that YouTube and Zini have been working really great together. We've gotten, again, a lot of really great buy-in from our different departments on campus with our faculty and staff and our current students who have just taken videos of them riding the public transportation system or doing a tour of their dorm room and things like that. Some of the more formal, longer videos we post onto YouTube, but then we're able to cut those into minute-long segments, promote them on Zini, so it kind of has students going and bouncing around to all of our different channels and all of the different ways that they can stay connected. We've also just been offering some different things on Instagram, Snapchat, different things like that. Kind of the big thing for us is to showcase our students and faculty as much as possible right now. We're kind of at that yield anti-melt stage where these students don't really want to hear from the admissions office anymore. They've gotten all the information from us that they really want and need, and it's time for them to start meeting their peers, meeting the faculty, meeting people like that. And so we've found that this time, especially everybody knowing that this is virtual, things are a little bit unusual right now. We've gotten some great buy-in from the rest of the campus community who's been willing to go on Instagram and post things, go on Zini and create channels and interact with people, you know, give us content so that we could then produce it and everything like that. But if you go to the next slide, this is just actually, I wanted to put as well, just some of the different ways that we're incorporating Zimi into everything that we do. As I said, especially during this yield anti-melt time, Zimi is a pretty integral part of our communication plan. It's in almost everything that we do. All of our emails, we have a footer at the bottom encouraging students to join Zimi. We've got all of this different stuff that's going on that I just mentioned. And then this is actually a slide from our information session that we do daily. We encourage students to get connected. We explain to them that, you know, if they want to find the majority of the admitted students at DU, this is where they're going to find them. We don't have an official Facebook page for our incoming first-year students or anything like that. Zimi is where you're going to find those students, ask who needs roommates, who else is from Wyoming, who else is from these different places. So we really encourage them to join Zimi as much as we possibly can. And I would really encourage any of you who are partnering with them to do that as well. But that's pretty much about all I have. Please feel free to ask questions. I'd love to answer any, but I'm going to pass things off to Sarah and Jack from Augsburg.
All right, thank you so much. So hi everyone, my name is Jack Hein. I'm Assistant Director of Student Engagement at Augsburg University. So a small private liberal arts school located in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And we have been with Zimi for about a year and a half now. So this is our first full cycle going through with them with the class as a whole, which has been really, really great. I'm not going to speak a ton. I'm going to pass it to Sarah. She's actually one of our student influencers. And we'll be able to speak a bit more on kind of that student influencer relationship with the students on Zimi, which I think will be really important. You can look at our numbers here. We as well are adding a lot of people to our official on Zimi because we're bringing in other departments. So our orientation department is moving in on there, as well as residence life, and then I'm sure we'll be adding more in the future. So that'll continue to grow. But yeah, I will pass it off to Sarah now.
Sweet. Thank you, Jack. Yeah, so as Jack was saying, my name is Sarah Hanson. I graduated from Augsburg in December of 2019 and have been interning in the admissions office since then, but I've worked there since my first year of college at Augsburg. We can head over to the next slide. So yeah, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we use TikTok and Zimi together. They're pretty cohesive apps, as TikTok has become a really easy way for us to make really creative content. So myself and the other student influencers utilize it quite a bit. That's something we encourage you to look into as well. So you've probably heard about TikTok, really easy way to edit videos, to merge different videos together, to take extra clips of videos, and then to also find trends that the high school students, anyone who's going to be using Zimi, incoming students are probably going to be familiar with. TikTok's a pretty big app in the high school kind of age range at this point. So there's a lot of different sounds and music that you can use to add on to your videos. And so once you take a little bit of time, scroll through TikTok, you can catch on to those trends and start to utilize them in your videos as well. It's a really easy way to add text to videos. So if you're promoting anything, you can see an example on the left side of the screen there. That is the video in TikTok. Right side of the screen is the video in Zimi, explaining how we were doing our virtual scavenger hunt. But it's a really easy way to edit your videos, add music, make them a little bit more creative. And that's something that we have been encouraging of myself and the rest of the student ambassadors throughout the time in making content for Zimi and promoting these virtual events and trying to connect with students, finding ways to do so creatively instead of just sitting down. Excuse me if you can hear, my street's a little bit loud sometimes. There's motorcycles going by. But in finding ways to promote events instead of just sitting down and being like, hey everyone, we have a Q&A coming up, join us for this, like adding music, making it a dance, making it funny, catching on to trends that we see on TikTok already, have been a good way for our videos to get views, but then it also, I think, encourages students to connect a little bit more with us because it makes us seem a little bit more approachable, that we're having a little bit of fun with that. And I think since I started using TikTok and started putting a little bit of more effort into the videos, started connecting a little bit more with these trends, I think I've seen a lot more direct messages from prospective students. And so I think all in all, it's made me feel as though students can see me as a little bit more approachable. We also will take videos from TikTok and put them on our Instagram, our Snapchat stories, we'll put them on Facebook, Twitter. So pretty versatile videos that you can post anywhere. But we don't actually specifically post to TikTok. I know that Washington Jefferson has their own TikTok, very, very cool. But yeah, I make it on my own personal account. I save it privately, no one else can see it, and then it just saves to my phone. Something to be aware of is aspect ratio. If you were going to make videos for Zimi or for Instagram from TikTok, you just want to make sure you're kind of filming in that square or editing within the square so that you can crop it nicely later. Yeah, I think finding ways to creatively put out information has been a really beneficial thing for us, but we can head over to the next slide here. We'll talk a little bit more about our events. So a couple events that we have done on Zimi in this quarantine time. And we've tried like the Zoom webinars, Slate webinars, things like that. But these are things that we feel through Zimi have allowed us to connect a little bit more directly with students. And have also, I think, been a little bit more fun for students. So we did an admitted student scavenger hunt, which was inspired by William Jessup University. So shout out to them for this wonderful idea. Our prospective students had a good amount of fun with it. So we sent out a list of questions, prompts that students could find on our website, a lot of Augsburg trivia, some fun stuff on there. And so they made teams of 4 within the admitted student chat room. They just found groups of 4. And then we gave prizes to the top 3 teams. We gave extra points for creative team names, things like that. And then we just added up points based on how many things they were able to find correctly throughout their websites. And then we announced the winners during a virtual student panel as well. We gave them 2 days to do this as well. It worked out pretty well. It was pretty fun. So we're looking forward to doing more of these kinds of things with our students. But we can go to the next slide. So speaking of the virtual Q&A panels, we've done 2 now that are student-based. So myself and a couple other ambassadors from our office have hopped onto Zimi. Pretty similar to what some of the other schools were talking about, make some introduction videos, and then students really kind of took it and ran with it. We got a lot of questions. It was a little bit hard to keep up. We're making a lot of videos one after the other, but it was a lot of fun to connect with students in that way. They were even kind of like joking and asking us like goofy questions throughout it too, which was fun to connect with them in that way. So we did that. We've also done some admission counselor presentations. So similar format, introduction videos, students can ask questions. And then they've been doing weekly residence, our residence life office has been going live weekly to answer questions about on-campus living and all that kind of stuff as well. And that just started a week or 2 ago, so they've only done 1 or 2 of those. But those have also had a good number of students show up, just because that's something that a lot of students tend to have questions about, is that on-campus life kind of stuff. Upcoming this week on Thursday, we're going to be taking a play out of our friends at Washington and Jefferson, and we're going to be doing a speed friending event, kind of similar to something we would do at our own orientation as well. But we're going to be asking questions, allowing them to chat a little bit more, chat with them. And hopefully that'll be a lot of fun as well. Yeah, Jack, anything last to add before I pass it off to Liz?
No, that is perfect. I think that is good. If you have any questions, feel free to hop them in, and Sarah and I would be happy to answer them as well.
All right, take it away, Liz.
Thanks, Sarah. Hi, my name is Liz Paulsen, and I'm the Director of Admissions for Communication and Visitor Experience at Alverno College. Alverno is located in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And a little bit about Alverno is we are a small private Catholic liberal arts college, and our undergraduate population is all women. And our grad program is about 600 students, and it is co-ed, but our undergrad is about 1,200 students, and it's all women. Last year at this time, we were really, really struggling to even get our committed students to commit or to communicate with us. Admitted students were even harder and on up the funnel. And this time around, this cycle, we wanted to try something different. So we actually started engaging with Zimi at the beginning of March. And it turned out to be one of the best decisions that we made, because a few weeks later we were, shut down and everything was virtual. So we are very relatively new to Zimi, and we've hosted 2 admitted student days on the app. And we have found that engagement has increased greatly. And I saw in some of the questions in the Q&A and the chat about how is this different than like a Zoom meeting or a webinar. And there's some anonymity there for the student on Zimi, because they don't have to, they have their handle and they have their picture, whatever picture they want. And so it's not as intrusive, I guess I would say. I think this generation in particular really likes that anonymity. And so they're more willing to engage not only with you, but also with the influencers and each other. For our first admitted student day, the big popular thing was contests. And what we really did in order to get participation on some of our other channels was we would say, hey, we had a series of images on our Instagram page of our mascot and what she's been doing during quarantine. And so we said, hey, go over to our Instagram page and let us know what our mascot is doing today. And then they come back and then they answer that. So it was a way to get them on our other channels and then also to bring them back. We also did another event for prospective student athletes, and we had all of our coaches on, and we really were able to engage the coaches with the student athletes, and then we were able to pair like all the basketball players together, all the soccer players together, that kind of thing, to engage in dialogue. So we are excited about what this means for summer and the opportunities that lie ahead for us. The biggest thing for us too has been the student influencers. We have a handful of students that are in there posting and sharing kind of like, this is what I'm doing in my quarantine time, or hey, as a college student, I'm challenged too by virtual learning. How are you all doing? And so I think that there's these peer connections between the high school student and the college student, and realizing that there's a lot of commonality there and they're both all in the same boat, and then that when they come to college in the fall that they'll know each other and see each other. In fact, one of our biggest influencers just graduated on Saturday, and people were so excited when they first saw her in the app because they recognized her from some marketing promotions and from on-campus tours when we used to be able to do them. So it was exciting to get those connections made and built. I'm so excited to hear about this speed friending too. We're totally going to try that this summer. That sounds amazing. So other than that, like when we first opened it up, yes, we saw a lot of people sharing their Instagram handles. You can see through all of that there. But the other thing I did want to mention about Zimi in particular is I work here at Alverno with a lot of various vendors on a host of things, and I have found the people behind Zimi to be very collaborative, willing to help, and they're in a heartbeat. The response, even though we're a small college, a really small college, and so sometimes the bigger fish get the attention, and we have not found that with Zimi at all. They've been nothing but wonderful to work with. And as you can see, there's a host of colleges here, and collaboration, borrowing other people's ideas, it's all fair game, and it's a lot of fun. And so, yeah, we're really excited to see what summer has in store for us, and continuing to use Zimi. So thank you. And I can answer any questions in the chat or in the Q&A as well.
Thank you, everyone. So just that was perfect timing. Huge round of applause to each of you panelists. You guys are absolute rock stars. Awesome information. So let's do this. We've got a few minutes for anybody that's sticking on here for the next few minutes. We'll open it up to kind of more of a discussion based, where you can ask something specific directly to any of the panelists and they can respond to that. Also, just double check the chat if you've not been in there. We want to make sure that we get you the recording and the slides for this presentation. All we ask, super short little survey. So if you could just click on that link in the chat for all of you that are attending today and do that for us, we would greatly appreciate it. So with that, we are monitoring the chat channel. Even something maybe that you asked earlier, if you wanted a little more in-depth response, you can just, don't hesitate. You could ask that again and get a little more information on something that you might have even asked earlier. So we're taking a look. Anyone using this for graduate students? So that's a great question. So I don't know if anybody, I'll let anybody jump in maybe tackle if we're thinking about graduate students at this point. And Vanessa, Vanessa's also on with us. She's a Zimi CEO. And so she might be able to even address or chat a little bit about that one as well.
Yeah, sure. Happy to. Yeah, we are actually just launching some partnerships with different grad programs. So as everybody knows, different grad programs have different needs, but everybody needs to connect their incoming students, prospective students socially. So that's what we do, what we've figured out, what we can help partners do. So we're just launching actually some partnerships with different kinds of programs. So from a business school to more traditional kind of liberal arts grad programs. So the answer is yes, but it's a newer space for us.
Awesome. And a follow-up was about the platform that's used for trivia. So I know we shared examples in this presentation of trivia being hosted on Zimi, but if any of the panelists want to just jump in and share a little bit more about platforms or doing trivia on Zimi and that experience.
Hey guys, I'm Grace Gerger from Washington Jefferson College, and I'll talk to you guys a little bit about trivia. So we did it about 2 weeks ago. We used Zimi we have a Zimi live chat within there, so a channel that we advertise the event for, and then that's where we have our students talk. We had our ambassadors drop the questions for trivia in our live channel, so that way prospective students and mid students and deposit students can talk throughout there. But we used a Google form for them to answer the questions, and it kind of just made grading easier. So we dropped the link for the Google form before each round. So we did 5 rounds, 10 questions in each round, totaling about 50 questions. And that's how we went about it. If you do have any questions or kind of need help working it out, feel free to reach out to us for anything.
Great response. And here's a great question. And I've actually seen this one before, even outside of webinars. And basically it's regarding student ambassadors. Do we face any problems, ambassadors giving like wrong answers or advice about the university or policy? This goes back to me on the admission side. You're always worried when the tour group goes out, is this one tour guide going to say something that we don't necessarily want them to say? So maybe that aspect, we've all worked on other platforms. We've all allowed a student to do an Instagram live and have that password and that. So maybe explain a little bit, how you feel about leveraging your ambassadors, student influencers on Zimi versus some of these other platforms.
I'd love to get on that one.
Yeah.
Sorry, Stephanie, if I cut you off there. We actually have so of the ambassadors that we're using on Zimi, we have a private group chat that we use to kind of talk to those students, and there are 2 admissions counselors in there. So if they ever have questions that they're uncomfortable answering, and they kind of know, we've trained them to know where the line is, what they should be answering and what they should be passing over to us. But having like a separate channel for us to communicate with those ambassadors has been really helpful. And sometimes they'll say, hey, Courtney, one of your students had a question about financial aid. So then I'll send a DM to that person on Zimi, or I'll reach out to them another way. But we've kind of, set some boundaries for them. And it happens all the time where they just have to tell the student, hey, I'll get an admissions counselor to get back to you in the morning. I mean, I forgot to mention this earlier, but Zimi at night it's like a party in there. I had to turn off the notifications on my phone because I'm old and I was in bed at like 10:30 and I had like 999 notifications because students were going crazy in Zimi. So it's kind of natural that sometimes the ambassadors aren't going to be able to answer every single question, but we've just kind of asked them to write down the name, let us know in the morning, and we'll get back to the students. And that's been really successful for us.
Awesome. Thanks, Courtney. Another great question here from David. And so this one we get a lot. So it's this idea of, we're still using the Facebook groups. Should we keep trying to do that versus should we transition to Zimi, or could we collaborate and use both? So I'm going to give one example and then any of the panelists can jump in. But one of our recent partners, UC Berkeley, I've noticed from their chat channels on Zimi with the students, there actually are a handful of like really, really big, long existing Facebook groups that have information, everything about property that's available, rentals available in that area. And so they seem to be like very useful and useful information. So we'll see students on Zemi like share that, where they can jump into those groups. So I think there could be some collaboration between specific types of Facebook groups that provide some value. But certainly the question we typically get more often is, you know, we've been doing these class up Facebook groups. Should we, you know, keep doing that, or why should we transition to Zemi? So any of our partners that may want to, again, just jump in and kind of talk about those differences or the advantages, disadvantages, feel free to share, because I think that's a question we get asked a lot.
Yeah, I'd be happy to speak on it a little bit. So we have been dealing with the similar thing of whether or not to get rid of Facebook completely. I know that a lot of Gen Z isn't super active on Facebook. So we've been pulling away from it a lot. We still have the class of 2024 Facebook group that students still go in, but we see really low engagement within it. It's a space a lot for announcements. And we can see that people are seeing them through likes or whatever, which is great. So we can get the information across, but we're getting a lot more engagement on the Zemi side of all of that. So that's a really great space for them to talk to each other and build those relationships with each other that we aren't finding as much on Facebook. We are using Facebook right now to engage with parents a little more. So parents can't be on Zemi. I mean, I guess they could create an account and whatever, but it's more space for the students. So we've been using Facebook Live to kind of connect with the parents each week. So every Friday at noon, we go live for 15, 20 minutes and just give an update on what's happening with the university. Obviously, during all of this with COVID, there's things changing weekly. So it's nice to just get in front of them, tell them this is what we know, answer any questions that they might have. So we've found a lot of success with that, actually. We've had hundreds of views on that, which has been really helpful. But yeah, pulling away from the class of groups more on Zemi.
Great. We got to thank you on that one, Jack. So you did an excellent job responding to that. So I tell you what, I'm looking at the time here. We're at 53. So if there's any other questions, now is your chance. Jump in here. We're going to try to give you a few minutes back here if you have any other questions. One thing I will say is these panelists today are always more than willing. If after this, if you feel like you need the contact information or you want to follow up with them, I am sure all of them are more than willing to answer any questions. If it's something you didn't feel comfortable asking in front of the Zemi people here, hey, we get that, we understand. You certainly can ask them offline, and we tell all of our partners to be super transparent, and they'll tell you what you want to know. And so we encourage you to follow up with them if you have anything specific. Again, I just want to say thank you to each of the panelists. Thank you for all the participants. We know how valuable your time is. We know you've sat in a million webinars. So thank you for adding one more to your list and joining us today. And if you have any questions about Zemi, follow up with us, take a look at that survey in the chat, fill that out. And if you'd like to take things to the next level, we certainly will follow up with you. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day. Hope everybody had a wonderful Memorial Day weekend, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye, everybody.